Vinny T's mega drop.
Can you say he crashed or can you say his bike failed?
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, they're doing what a lot of brands are doing right now. You know, they're trying to get through some rough waters.
They're going into self-restructuring, which is a little bit like bankruptcy, but it's not.
Propulsion e-bikes. You have a nuclear reactor inside your down tube and your bike will never run out of battery.
Pretty exciting World Cup season.
Pretty exciting. Understatement of the day.
Yeah. Loic Bruni back on top.
You think Jackson Goldstone's paying taxes? He's probably got something in Andorra
too.
What's up, Nick?
Hello.
You're back from Europe.
We are back. We're back with the ReconMTB podcast. I'm back. I'm feeling a little better now, finally.
Yeah, jet lag has dissipated.
Yeah, I've been back and forth a few times this summer, and the third time, it really hurts.
I don't think you can get used to having jet lag. I think that, you know, in the summer months when you're going back and forth like that, you just always have it, so you stop noticing it.
Well, I just notice I'm tired all the time. So
more coffee.
Yeah, well, yeah, totally.
Well, we're back. We got a ton of really awesome topics for today. What did you want to start out with?
I wanted to start out with the thing that I was most shocked by this week, and that was Vinny T's mega drop that unfortunately he crashed on, but this was a crazy line in Switzerland. Vinny T, Vincent Tupin, if you know him, he's pretty much well known for really cool POV riding clips, just a really
in the snow.
In the
You've
snow.
seen the guy going 100 miles an hour through the forest in the snow. That's who we're talking about.
Yeah, I've actually ridden with him in where he lives, where most of those videos are, the snow. It was awesome.
You've lived the dream?
I have, yeah.
Oh, man.
We started at the top in the snow, maybe like 1 foot snow, and it was sketchy. Berms under the snow, you couldn't really tell.
Oh, yeah.
And then we got down, less snow, and we finished on one of those legendary like toboggan trails. It was a dream.
Dude, I had a day like that in Ashland with the whole 50-1 crew. It was similar to that, just like living in Vinny T's GoPro cam. It was sick. But yeah, like you were saying, you mentioned he crashed. Can you say he crashed or can you say his bike failed?
Well, that's a good question.
What would have happened? Basically,
this was a 3-second hang time, drop. Do you know the length? It must have been.
It was like 122 feet or something like that, if I remember right from the video. But yeah, it was massive. And 3 seconds of hang time, like, okay, 3 seconds, that's not very long. But let's bring this into context. We go in the air, we go 1001, 1002, 1003. That is forever.
It is. And it feels like air. 12 seconds when you're in the air. It's crazy.
Yeah, but what looks like what ended up happening was, and it did kind of look like, I can't say for sure. Obviously, this is hypothetical, but I think he was going to blow up either way, if his front tire exploded or not. It looked like maybe the landing just didn't have enough of a steepness to be, you know, a landing you could actually hold on to.
Also, pack. You could tell he packed in a certain part of the landing. He landed pretty far left, like almost on the edge of where was packed and where wasn't. And that was one of the problems. His front tire just sunk in many inches, and that was part of the whole tumbling. And he just rolled, and you think, man, is he okay? Like, that was a 100-foot drop to crash unscathed, or, you know, bumped up, bruised up, broken bike, but no concussion apparently, no broken bones apparently. And you're like, man.
Dude, there's actually a thing. So when I was doing mega ramp stuff, obviously 70-foot gap on a BMX bike, you're like, man, this is gnarly. But that was probably one of the easiest crashes to crash on that 70-foot gap, because you're going like 35, 40 miles an hour, and it's like a 747 landing. Sometimes that forward momentum can like be the savior that you need.
And you just slide.
Yeah, but now we're talking in 120 plus foot gaps, and we got to start thinking about the integrity of the bikes that we're riding, right? Like, his front wheel exploded, spokes, rim, the whole thing. Would he have pulled it? Who knows? Was it because he was off to the side? Who knows? But I think now the sport is getting pushed. And if you look at I think the most exciting thing about what he's doing and pushing the sport is what's going to come of it, right? Like, there's sort of this like, it's like a template of what happens for bike evolution. Somebody out there starts pushing the limits, riding like what Vincent's doing right now, 120 plus feet. People are going to want to emulate. They're going to want to mimic that. They're going to want to go further. And the sport and the industry is going to have to build products to keep up with that stuff. And so it's getting people scratching their heads now, like, oh, what is the safety test standard? How strong does this thing need to be? So I'm excited to see what comes of it.
Crazy riders pushing the sport forward. You love to see it, but you hate to see people crash.
Yeah, I hate to see him crash, and I bet he'll be back. He's going to reassess. I hope he makes that landing maybe a little bit steeper. It looked good. Like, his head was in the right spot. The way that the drop was, it was actually pointing downwards, which makes the timing of the gap so hard. And I thought his distance was in a good spot, and his trajectory, he didn't have to hop off of it, was real good. He just needs to maybe reassess how steep that landing was and try to soften that blow.
I mean, it's so hard with drops that big. They're completely blind until the last second, and sometimes even when you're in the air. And it's just hard to judge the speed, the hop, and everything.
Yeah.
And the hard part was when designing that jump, it's very natural. You can't just build a landing for a 100-foot plus drop. It has to be a downslope that already exists, and then you have to form from there.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's going to take a lot of work to reform that landing.
Yeah. Yeah. And who knows if it's private property or whatever it might be. But I'm expecting to see him back and looking forward to see him stick it.
Yeah, he's probably back soon if he's not injured. If he's not having nightmares.
Yeah, right?
Oh, my goodness.
That would be such a crazy feeling, just like, wow. when you're going more than 90 feet, like the closest thing that I could maybe relate to it on a bike was jumping the 90-footer at Darkfest. And the feeling of your stomach dropping out and losing your breath when you actually come off the lip and realize how far away the landing is, it makes your heart stop. But then quickly you realize you're going 50 miles an hour and you're going to make it. But
right.
That first instant thing is just like, I can't imagine what that was like on that drop.
We have some interesting news out of YT, out of Germany. They're going into self-restructuring, which is a little bit like bankruptcy, but it's not. They're basically reorganizing the company to make it more healthy, hopefully profitable, and be able to live to fight another day, basically.
Yeah, they're doing what a lot of brands are doing right now. You know, they're trying to get through some rough waters. The excitement that the powers that be and the people placing the orders during COVID, with the COVID boom, I think they got a little bit excited, and it's no stranger that there's an inventory issue. And one of the things that he mentioned on the video, which I didn't even think about, is all of these brands that are not rider direct that are selling stuff super cheap.
Oh yeah.
So those discounts are now matching the price of the rider direct, and that's really just kind of pulling the rug out from under those brands.
Yeah, and they're lucky that they are rider direct, because that is a little bit of extra margin for them. And that's why so many brands have gone under, especially the ones that work through this odd supply chain that bikes have, you know, brand, bike shop individual, or sometimes it's brand distributor, bike shop, and it's just really, there's a lot of steps. So it's really clear that a setup like YT needs to exist so that the brand can, you know, have enough to eat. But at the same time, if everyone's driving the prices down, it hurts everyone.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a restructuring moment for not only YT and their current situation, but for the whole industry and the way things are done. I think it's an opportunity to sort of kind of catch up to the bikes and the products that are being sold to the way that they're being sold. Because it's almost like the curve, like the bike industry and the way that we're getting bikes to riders is going up like this, but then the technology and the need for it is going like this. Mm-hmm. So I think now is a good time for people to start like looking at what needs to be different. How do we do it a way that was different from before that benefits everybody? And I just hope that, you know, they don't forget about the end user in this restructuring. And that was some of the most kind of comforting bits about the news that YT gave out in that video, kind of giving us, you know, the fans and the consumers an inside look. And the thing that stood out the most to me was when he was like, COVID was great. And 5 years ago, I stepped down as CEO. We brought in a new CEO. And then a year ago, I came back and couldn't believe what I found and had to go into this bankruptcy / restructuring. So it's like, how many times are we going to hear the same story where like the heart and soul of the brand is with the people running it, and then they need to step aside or they sell for financial gain or whatever it might be? It's like, guys, stop doing the same thing over and over and over again.
It really is. It's very clear. The companies that are still owned and managed by their founders, the riders, versus the companies that are owned and managed by private equity or whatever, the private equity companies, those are the ones getting wiped out. And the, you know, in this case, YT, who's now under their original ownership or original management, is getting brought back to life, transition, made it through, rider owned, rider managed. Like, those are the companies that I guess have a better feeler of how the industry works. And it's so important to understand as a rider, the riders that are buying your bikes. And then there's another aspect, like you said, the technology is additive manufacturing, easier to manufacture bikes, less lead time to manufacture bikes. That's going to help a lot, because what happens is time goes by, you design a bike, 2 years can go by before it really hits the shelves. Technology changes so quickly nowadays. And is that bike old? Is that bike going to be relevant in 2 years? At this point, it's so hard to know. And I think as a part of, streamlining that supply chain and streamlining the way between the brand and the user, they need to also make a faster manufacturing cycle so that it can go from concept to production really quickly. And then not just concept to production, but the production timeline and the investment in production, the molds and stuff,
Don't give them even more reason to standardize suspension platforms for e-bike motors, because that sounds like what you're doing to me.
No, I just want them to be able to produce bikes more quickly and like more cost effectively, because that'll trickle down to the consumer too. And like that, people can get bikes for less money, and the brands can build them for less money.
Well, if we're talking about making them cheaper for the consumers, the bike brands got to stop sitting on their asses and just buying all the parts, because you see in the forums people talking about the comparison. Oh my God, that new Specialized or that new this or that new Yeti is $12,000. That's insane. I could go get this new dirt bike for $8,000. And it's like, why? Well, volume is part of it, but also there's a middleman in almost every single component on your bike, except for the frame. So it's like, those motocross manufacturers, they're making margin on every single part because they're actually making the parts. And it's really hard to break into with the way that the bicycle industry is. People have their standards. People are, they're set in their ways a little bit. They have trust in SRAM suspension and Fox suspension. Now we have Öhlins, and I've heard of, Bilstein coming in, some auto manufacturer truck stuff and moto stuff, KYB. So things are changing there, but it's like,
but you're thinking the brands need to start making their own products so they own more of the products on their bikes.
That's why Specialized is as big as they are, because if you look at a high-end Specialized and a high-end Yeti or a high-end Forbidden or a high-end any other brand that makes a $10,000 analog bike, Specialized makes the most parts that are on that bike.
It's true.
They got
saddles,
they got Roval wheels, they got saddles, they got tires, they got the bar, and all of the stuff is high quality that you can justify putting on a $10,000 bike. They're charging more for the bike, but they're getting a higher margin.
Double dipping, basically.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But it's not, you could say double dipping, or you could say it's smart business.
It is smart business. Absolutely.
They're doing the work.
Yeah.
They're developing each part. They have engineers for that stuff. So it's like, if you want to make bikes more affordable and you want to compete with Specialized, or you want to compete with those big brands that can do that, bring that savings to the customer, and then you'll undercut those guys.
I always wondered how much of it was a scale thing, because like this iPhone, I went online, I was looking for a new SRAM derailleur. I wanted the new T-type transmission. And I was like, wait a second, I could buy an iPhone for that much. And I thought, an iPhone's a computer, there's AI, movies, battery, all this stuff. And the SRAM derailleur goes beep, boop, beep, and it's like, why does it cost as much as an iPhone?
Because it's sick.
It is. It
gets
sick.
You up the hill.
It is sick, but imagine the technology of an iPhone in bike parts. Like it's the bike industry is so far behind, and I wonder like at what scale. Obviously, the iPhone is probably the biggest mass market product in the world, or one of them. So
I mean, dude, there's how many? There's like almost 10 billion people in the world. Like 8 billion of them have an iPhone.
A huge percentage.
If 8 billion of them had a T-type derailleur, they would be cheap and way better.
hopefully. But what I'm saying is like, yeah, what level? Where does mountain biking have to get to for us to see those gains in the scale? And then where is the incentive from the industry?
Happier riders. That's the only thing I see is that's the route to happier riders and making things, more affordable is. I think those brands kind of really digging in and making their own gains and not just sort of like looking for other people to do it.
What brands today do you think have the resources to do that? Specialized, obviously Specialized.
They've mastered it. I think Giant does it somewhat decent. They have some good aftermarket parts or house brand parts, if you will. I think Transition does a good job with Anvil. I think they could probably do more stuff. It's hard to say which brands could or couldn't do it. I think
bar stem, that's the easy part.
Yeah,
we're talking tires, wheels, eventually suspension.
But it's more than just bar stem, right? Because like a lot of brands have a bar stem with their brand on it, but it's not an engineered part.
It's just catalog.
Yeah, like Roval wheels. I put Roval wheels on my Forbidden because they're good wheels.
Yeah.
It's not just the wheels that came on that other bike. You know what I mean?
Santa Cruz is getting there too with Reserve.
Absolutely.
They're trying to separate the two brands, but they are still one.
Yeah.
And that difference in cut you get from a really high quality carbon wheel set to making sure those get on the bikes. You can now put those on lower end bikes, get more riders stoked. That's what I like with the Santa Cruz thing is the bikes are expensive, but you can get such a solid mid-level bike in like the $5,000 range, that C-level carbon frame, still carbon. Most riders will not know the difference between the C and the CC.
Probably 80%.
90 maybe. It's barely, I don't even know if it's a pound. Like it's crazy. And then you have Reserve wheels, you get a mid-level transmission, mid-level suspension. Most riders are better off for that. I actually I had a Select fork laying around and I was swapping a bunch of stuff and I wanted to test it. And honestly, it's not that bad.
No.
Like, I rode it. I was thinking about my sister's boyfriend. He wants to get a new bike soon. And I was like, this could be really good level stuff for him. And I always thought, man, you don't want to ride that stuff, But for a rider like that, who doesn't necessarily know or has never experienced ultimate level suspension or factory, I think to them, that stuff is awesome. Like it just feels great.
Oh yeah. I mean, it does work really well. I think really where the lower end stuff falls off is durability. I think that's really where
I haven't tested that.
Where you're going to notice the difference. Well, I have, and that's where you'll notice the difference. Okay. But for those newer riders that are coming into the sport, they're not riding as much as we are anyway.
Week,
so it kind of evens out. Yeah. Yeah. But where do we start? Back to the YT thing.
Right.
I am excited to see what they do next because the original guy, what's his name? Marcus Flossman. He's back and he's getting creative to dance through the way the industry is operating right now. And I'm excited to see what comes from his mind because he's been there and he's emotional. He's connected to the brand. It's his brand. It's his baby, most likely. So I'm excited to see what YT does next. I think this is a good thing for them.
Yeah. What do you think about the need to maybe scale down the number of different bikes people are making? I always thought that some brands are making a few too many bikes, a few too many SKUs, more carbon frames, more carbon molds. That means more bikes in a warehouse somewhere when they don't sell. Do you think that brands might need to scale back for a short amount of time how many different bikes they're making?
Yeah, I think there's been an effort to condense lines, I think, since all the brands started canceling their female specific lines. That's kind of when I saw it start. Like, oh, now it's all about, for a long time it was like, we need 12 SKUs per model. We need 6 models for every single situation there could possibly be. And, the bikes are getting so good, the differentiation between the cost of the parts is getting smaller and smaller. Mm-hmm. And also it is easier to manage less SKUs. So that SKU reduction that I saw kind of start maybe like 10 years ago has carried through and is still something that people are trying to do. And speaking of YT, I think they have their eyes on exactly what you're talking about. You see some of their uncaged builds, which is the same, chassis and same basic, pricing structure, but it kind of, I don't know this for sure. It kind of seems like they're shopping around on what parts are not only wanted and popular in the current culture, but also what they can get in that moment and then putting a build together. And it's the Uncaged 4, Uncaged 3. I think that's a cool way to do it. Almost like how you have an established skateboard team and they have their, their shape and their weight board that they run. And then throughout the year, there's different series that come out and there's different art on that whole series, but you have every athlete on there. So kind of in that way, but making the bikes the characters, it seemed like what YT was doing, which I like that.
Yeah, totally. And they have their whole Enduro team also focused around that. Like they're running the parts they want to run. So it's a cool marketing thing. And like Uncaged is like, we're not going to stick with one brand or the other, but it's also like, yeah, like you said, what is on clearance, what works in this current pop culture. It's good marketing.
Yeah, it's good marketing and it's smart business. I mean, it's good for the part manufacturers. It's good for the YT, the manufacturer themselves, but it's also, they're trickling that down to the rider. And to me, that's the best.
Yeah. We used to live in a time, like you said, about 10 years ago where there was a 27.5 and 29 version of everything from cross country bike, even a hardtail could have a full 27.5 build all the way up to like the full 170 bike.
Yeah, dude, from like $800 bike up.
Yeah. Really, you don't need that nowadays. It sounds like you need a cross country bike. You need a 29 and a mullet like 120, 130 bike, which are sometimes based on the same chassis with different. I like that. I like the brands building a bike that the rider could go full 29, mullet, change the progression, that's one bike. It's one less model they need to build and one less thing they need to market. And that's what, like, this sort of, the one that did it really well is the current Transition Sentinel. It feels like that bike almost picked up the slack for like the Patrol and the Spire almost. And you can do full 160, 150, 160 mullet. You could overfork it to 170. It's crazy what you can do on that bike. And I'm guessing they're going to sell like 70% of their sales is going to be that one bike.
Yeah.
And that makes me think, like, how much of the other line do you need? Or same for all the other brands.
Yeah. I mean, that is a similar thing with other brands. They usually have that marquee model that is that highlight, and, you know, maybe that runs for a decade or even further. A lot of brands, you know, their history and heritage is built on that singular brand.
Yeah.
That singular model.
Yeah.
But, you know, one of the things that I think is the best piece of SKU reduction that comes directly to the riders is the fact that they're able to have more sizes of bikes.
Yeah.
They're making less versions of the same bike, but more sizes. And now people that are like 6'5" or 5 foot and below, they're having a similar experience that you and I have been having, you know, ever since we've been riding. So that's one of the biggest benefits of that SKU reduction is having more sizes, getting more riders on bikes that fit.
Yeah. But the other side, it also complicates things for the brands more, because that's more molds, more SKUs, etc.
It's only more molds and it's only more SKUs. It's not finding a different fork in that price point.
True.
And negotiating to get the margin you need to fit that price point.
You probably get better margin because they're getting more sizes and more models out. Yeah.
Yeah. And bigger orders on singular parts. They're condensing, but offering more. So I like that.
Sweet. And the Geo is getting so good now. It's gone too far and it's come back. It's like those bikes, Geo-wise, will probably be relevant for twice as long now. People might want a new version, but that bike, I would still go back and buy it 10 years from now because it works so well, you know?
Dude, you say that, but look, 10 years ago, I remember you cruising into the Santa Cruz showroom on like an R Bronson.
Yeah.
That was like 10-ish, 12-ish years ago. You ain't riding that bike today, dude. People aren't going to stop innovating.
It's true, but I don't know. Maybe I'm too optimistic. It's like, how much further can they go?
Jet propulsion e-bikes. You have a nuclear reactor inside your down tube, and your bike will never run out of battery.
Insane.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah. Now, a pretty exciting World Cup season so far.
Oh man,
yeah.
Pretty exciting. Understatement of the day.
Yeah, we've had a couple. I mean, since we last talked about it, we've had a few races. Most recently, the Tweel and then Andorra. Jackson Goldstone has been on a wild run. Very impressive to see. He is on top of the world. But in Andorra, the Andorra, call it local, he's been living there for the last few years. Loic Bruni back on top.
You think Jackson Goldstone's paying taxes? He's probably got something in Andorra
too. No, I don't know. But Bruni coming back, he said, I couldn't let Jackson win again. I had to come back. And you know how strong Bruni is mentally, physically. He was always right there. But Jackson just had the edge those few races before, but he wouldn't let it happen again.
Yeah. I mean, that is the difference between Loic and most athletes. You know, there's very few. That's like what makes him the 1%er when it comes to an athlete, is like he's won world champs 4 times.
Many times.
4 times. He's won the overall. I don't know how many other times. I mean, the guy couldn't be more accomplished than he already is. And then this young guy comes in, which is the next wave, which is inevitable. It's going to happen. I mean, Jeremy McGrath had to face Ricky Carmichael. Ricky Carmichael had to face James Stewart. It's what's going to happen. But when an athlete doesn't step down from that crown, when it motivates them, which is what I'm seeing out of Loic.
Absolutely.
That is the difference between the 1% athlete and the rest of the athletes. Like, that is just, I mean, the physical, we know he's physically capable, but the mental strength that it takes to convince yourself that you can do that thing that no one else has been able to do the last 4 races, it's insane to me. And that's the biggest accomplishment on his part, is like how mentally strong he is. And that comes from his entire program.
Yeah.
From his mechanic to Laurent running the team to his fiance, the fact that he's got a baby coming, like all of those things just all culminate and give him that magic Molotov cocktail of emotion to be Loic Bruni.
Yeah. And it's so cool to watch too. And it's so exciting. It makes for a very exciting downhill season. I know a lot of people are getting into the sport because of all the drama that's happening, the way other media companies are able to chop up and share that info too. It's cool. The sport's in a spot where it's growing because of it. And I'm excited to see more.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think it's also, I don't think we've said it too much, but I think the general public has sort of like chopped the production off at the legs a little bit during the change from Red Bull to Warner Brothers. But I think the schedule and the new format with Q2 and the frequency of the events and the length of the broadcasts, I think we're getting there. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't hear many people talking about how much better it is, but man, it is night and day from what it was last year and even in the year before.
Yeah, and they are getting actually televised, mostly in Europe, but you can watch them on HBO here. Most people have, a lot of people like to complain, but honestly, most people have some form of subscription that they can watch it. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's
how many people that complain about subscriptions pay for cable?
They do. And also Netflix too. Like everyone has Netflix. Lost got his company. And then you see Amory Piron came back a week or less than
8 days
after he broke his collarbone. He was back and there was a bunch of jokes. He was on some sort of drugs while he was riding or something. I was like, I don't know, maybe.
I mean, there was probably something in there, but it ain't cheating if there's no testing. Like, if
I'm sure there's testing though. Huh?
Well, yeah, but if it's not for that stuff, like if they had to do a lidocaine to numb out where the incision was or something like that, that's not. There's no rules against that. But a team like Mugoff Commensal, they have the ability to have, you know, a physician there on site to do the things that need to get done.
Yeah. And we had a bit of a shakeup. Juan Velez winning Q1.
Yeah.
Insane. It's so cool to see.
Hold on. We've seen some crazy South Americans pull off some gnarly things, but he didn't only win Q1. He also had the fastest time in training.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a fluke.
Right.
Even though he wasn't able to execute in his race run, which would have been amazing, it wasn't a fluke.
I just love seeing guys that have been building up, not known to the general public. All of a sudden they're in the limelight. It's really cool to see. And all the fans rushed onto the course since he was the last down. Like they all rushed on. The organization came in with like barriers because they prepare for that sort of thing after like world champs. And it was just like the stoke around there was pretty cool to see. Now, looking towards the next race, we have Léger, the legendary Haute-Savoie, Port du Soleil area. The scene there is crazy, as proven by these crazy world champs races and 3 podium deep French riders. Like the scene is crazy.
Yeah, Montchéry has not let us down over the years, going all the way back to the PD and Burrell days when they were battling. Dude, so sick. But a place Loic is stoked to bring some momentum in from last week, coming back to actual France. We've seen some amazing rides out of him there. You know, he's looking to just take another punch at that overall title. We got plenty of races left.
It's close.
Yeah.
It's still close.
Yeah. So we'll see, man. It's going to be good. I'll be tuning in for sure.
Yeah. We were actually there during that world champs when it was a 3 deep French podium. I was actually worried like for our safety when everyone started like storming the podium. There's just like craziness happening.
Dude, the award ceremony in the village there, right in Léger, was one of the most intense things I'd ever seen. Like people on the roofs of the buildings surrounding the stage and a French podium sweep. Like the energy it's got to still be reverberating through the mountain there. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a sick race.
Yeah. I'm looking for another repeat of that sort of vibe. I mean, I think that year there was like 50,000+ people there. Yeah, think of a full baseball stadium. Like that's what we're talking about. Those people were lining the hill. It was just a sea of people.
Yeah, dude. It was exciting. I was up in the mix. Yeah. Got a couple of free beverages along the way. Yeah, it was a good time up there. Some people getting loose.
Always. But yeah, great. Thanks for another great episode. I actually know you've been putting in some time on the bike that we just gave away. Maybe recap your time on that bike for us. And then like, I'm sure the guy who won it is going to be super stoked. You can share more. Yeah,
dude, the Forbidden Dreadnought. It's like a monster truck that it doesn't feel heavy or like hard to do things, if you will. Like a lot of big bikes, like this is 170, 160. A lot of times, a lot of big bikes just feel hard to get off the ground, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. They're not so poppy and playful, but pretty short rear end on this bike, which is something that I like. I'm set up in the MX style. Got the level 3 build, Select Plus suspension, Maven bronze brakes, like
mechanical transmission is actually really good.
Dude, 11 times out of 10, I would choose the mechanical one. I love the speed of it. I love the feel of the buttons.
You can still shift under mega load. Like that was the biggest thing with Axis is they slowed down the shifts because they want you to be able to just sprint, and for e-bikes, I think. But this
Mainly for e-bikes.
you can just mash through gears, sprinting, no problem. Shift as quick as you want.
Yeah.
And it's pretty light. It's great.
Yeah. The spec on it is dialed. Like I put a little bit lighter cassette on it and some lighter carbon wheels, but dude, there's nothing else that I would change. Like that physique seat, my booty really likes it. Like the spec from tip to tail, you can tell someone that rides, you can tell when a product manager rides the bike the way that it was intended to be ridden by the consumer. The max grip tires, like everything is pretty dialed from tip to tail. And the way that it rides, dude, I mean, I've been loving it. It's going to be hard to get back on a short travel bike after riding that.
That's the biggest change I've seen in the last like 5 years is the mid-level kit, like the Maven Bronze, the mid-level transmission and suspension has really caught up to the high-end stuff, even could be as good or better than the high-end stuff of 5 years ago. And at that point, it's like, I don't think most riders need the extra stuff, especially if you know how to work on it. Like gear brakes, you had prepped by G-Bum. They feel really good. And if you prep some bronze brakes, maybe they're as good as Ultimate. Maybe you don't have quite as much adjustment.
Yeah.
You really need that sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, really the only difference between the bronze or the Ultimate, the way that I have them set up, as you said, G-Bum, the fresh build.
Yeah.
Which is he takes the pistons out, he smooths them out with like a Brillo pad, greases them, puts them back in, gets the pimp bleed. But yeah, the only difference is you don't get that pad reach adjustment when your rear pads start wearing out. So it's funny when my rear brake starts pulling in a little bit too far to the back end, I just switch out the rear pads a little bit faster. That's really the only difference that I feel on the different from bronze to Ultimate.
The pads you got on ReconMTB.com.
Yeah, dude.
Let's go.
Because every dollar I spend is going to win me maybe another bike that I already have.
Yeah, we have maybe a new giveaway bike cooking. You're going to like it. It's in a whole different segment than we've had so far. So
yeah, I heard it was sick. It was going to be a
beep. Sick. Well, thanks for a great episode.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me again.
See you again soon. Stay tuned.
Yo.
There's also the Lou Buchanan one. Do you remember this one?
Where he missed the landing?
He missed the landing, but the landing was like a gravel mound.
I mean, he just did a poor job of landing on the landing. That was all I saw. That happened a long time ago.
Maybe within, 6 months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago in the internet world, I guess.
Okay.
That went all up and down all over the place. That was sweet.
I think it's good. I think it's good when that happens. Less structured.
Yeah.